Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be me prepping for the game tonight. I got a few notes from where I made this adventure originally a couple weeks ago, but we're doing some hard prep for the actual battle now. So players that play in my weekend campaigns, don't watch this video until after y'all have had the raid with the orcs. Okay. Now let's review my earlier notes. As far as the orc raiders go, they're raiding from the north coast heading down. Rumors are that this town will be next, and they got a minotaur with them. Okay, let's look in a few of the extra books I got for more inspiration. I am using the Monster Codex from Pathfinder. If you had anything like this from 3rd edition or anything from D&D now, you could use it as well. It's just to spark some ideas. So let's turn first to orcs. Some new orc feats: Horn Rider's Charge, Mutual Hatred, Scarred Legion. Scarred Legion. Your ritual scars make you more fearsome, and your allies with similar scars grow bolder when you are near. So, morale bonus. Interesting. Now let's see some of the items. Ambush Cauldron. This huge sooty cauldron has 2 sets of rings aligned on opposite sides. Through these rings, large shafts can be inserted in order for the 2 bearers to lift and carry the cauldron. The inside of the oversized pot is caked with baked-on residue that smells foul and is greasy to the touch. Once per day, a horde of up to 100 orcs can consume a thick soup or gruel prepared within the cauldron. This substance makes the orcs uncannily stealthy and difficult to track. For the next 2 hours, any overland movement by the horde leaves few traces. When a creature attempts a survival check to discover the horde's tracks, the effect negates the penalty of the DC for a number of the orcs in the group. Any non-orc who consumes even a single spoonful of the soup or gruel immediately becomes nauseated for 10 minutes and does not gain any benefits. Interesting. Banner of the Rushing Horde. The banner of the Rushing Horde is a tattered cloth flag, typically 3 feet wide and 6 feet long, depicting the device or insignia of an orc tribe or unit. It can be carried on a staff affixed to a pole that's planted in the ground or hung from the harness of a great beast. Allies within 60 feet of the banner gain the benefits of the improved bull rush and improved overrun feats. If planted, the flag does not need a bearer, but if it is toppled or touched by an enemy, it loses its effectiveness until reclaimed and replanted by allies of its owner. War Drums of Savagery. Orcs turn the bodies of their slain enemies into these kettle-like drums, using the faux skin for the drumhead and the femurs as the drumsticks. The drums come with a harness that is worn across the shoulders and back, and that the drummer can play and walk simultaneously. When war drums of savagery are beaten rhythmically during battle, all the drummer's allies within 60 feet of the drums who can hear the pounding gain the effect of the rage spell. This effect lasts for as long as the drummer continues to play, but once the drumming stops, the effects can't begin again for 1 day. Allies who move within 60 feet of the drums after the drumming has begun, but while they're still sounding gain the benefits of the effect. Any allies who move out of the range of the drums temporarily lose the benefits of effect. but they regain the benefits when they move back within range of the drums. If the drummer plays the war drums of savagery as part of the bardic performance, those affected by the rage effect don't take the penalty to AC as long as the drummer's bardic performance continues. Okay. So, being a Viking horde of orcs attacking a town, and a few of these items make it more interesting. The party is expecting the orcs to park a few ships to the north of town and essentially surround the town. They're expecting a few more ships to the south of the town, and then some that'll go straight after the port of the town. So with that, bannermen giving them a morale bonus, assuming each ship would have one. Each ship's definitely led by a lieutenant or a captain in modern terms. They all follow the commands of the leader itself. I was going to set this up for, not sure how many ships, but I wanted there to be 3 different distinctive creatures that once defeated, each one of them is defeated, the horde has to make a morale save or retreat. So I put the Minotaur and I'd put the big boss man as the major ones. So we just need a third one, and that would dictate how the battle could end quickly. That said, the town that's getting attacked is not tremendously huge, and the party still has to go over what their plans are on how they're defending the town, so that way I have an idea of how the orcs would approach the defenses. So let's go through the orc commanders and other versions of orcs and see what other inspiration I can get from this. Okay, so the first one's the Orc Sergeant. Challenge rating 2, AC 13, hit points 30 average. But it's a 3rd level fighter. Okay, so that's telling me something. Uses a spear and a falchion. Okay, and javelins. It's okay. Let's move on to the Orc Lieutenant, 5th level fighter. +4 armor, but what's his armor? Hide armor, okay. So he has a longbow and a falchion. Interesting. Well, being that as its flavor for Pathfinder, since I'm running a Norse game, I'm not going to use the falchion. Okay. Orc Mystic, so Spellcaster, Cleric, okay. Level 3. Orc Thug, so a Rogue. Orc Bard, or Skald. Level 4. I like the Skald. Orc Seeker, so a Ranger. Okay, so Scouts. Make a note that they would have Scouts. Gorthek Rider, so a cavalier. And then orc rulers. There's an orc warlord and an orc chieftain. And then orc witch doctor. And then Gortheks look like a lion bull combo, which is the creatures they're supposed to ride. I like that. Okay. So you got your orc grunts. I'm going to assume that the orc riders might only number 24 and the party might only fight a handful of them. There's only one orc chieftain. I'm going to say there's 3 orc warlords. And we'll say each warlord controls a group of the boats that are landing. There could technically be 2 orc warlords. I'll do that. There is still a minotaur. I need to make a note of that. And I will give the orcs 1 mage. That is not a skald. So not a bard. Okay. So this one will be an interesting creature to create for the game system I'm using, because I'm not running in Pathfinder. Okay, let's look at the villain codex next and see if we can get some personalities for the orc leaders. Okay, Arcane Society, Brutal Slavers. Brutal Slavers might work. 18. Corrupt Guard, Cruel Musketeers, Death Cult, Demon Knights, Diabolical Church, Fang Monastery, Merry Outlaws, Nature's Scourge, Ruthless Brigands would work. Savage Marauders, Pirates. Okay, so let's start with Brutal Slavers. 18. Branding Iron of Tracking, interesting item. Darkness Arrow, Gag of Silence. Sleeping Sap, I like that. That makes the use of it in shows like that. You could use it in a game now. Vine Arrow, Slave Catchers, Chantress, Slave Keeper, Sadistic Healer, Sentinel, so Monk, Tactician, Horse, Trafficker, a Guide, Slave for Captain, he's a swashbuckler, okay. Slave Warlords, Crusher, Experimenter, Slave Master. Slave Master's a bard in this. That's funny to me. Okay, so that's a little bit there. Let's just go straight to Pirates 186. Cutlass of Waves, interesting. Hat of the Seven Winds, Pirate Lord's Patch. Scallywags, Bards, Rogues, Swaggering Shot, Gunslinger, like that. Vile Admiral, Swashbuckler, okay. Well, that wasn't as helpful as I was expecting it to be, but it is what it is. So let's further what I got. So they got the drums. That'll give them rage. So I need to translate that into the fantasy trip. So we'll say rage will be +2 dex plus 2 strength. You're rolling 3 6-sided dice underneath the stats, so if it's not that big of an increase, it's because it's a different setting. Okay. The banner, give them a bonus to charge. We'll give them +2 dex and +2 damage to a charge with the banner. On the cauldron, I was just give them the effects of Pass Without a Trace for 2 hours that the druids get. So Orc Warlord, you're going to be a regular orc in the fantasy trip is 8 strength, 8 dex, 8 IQ, with 8 points to distribute if you're playing it as a player. So I'm going to do strength is going to be 14, so they can take a hit. Dex is going to be 10. And they're going to have leather armor. That's the basic orc, which would allow them to subtract 2 hits per time they're hit, so DR of 2. Their weapons will be spears, and that'll be the basic grunts. Now let's go into the warlords. Oops, if I have a pen that writes. Oh. So if that's the stats of a regular orc, then the warlords need to be strength of, we'll go with 20. Strength in the fantasy trip is also equal to hit points. We'll give them a 12 dex without including their armor, and an 8 IQ. They'll have chainmail, and They'll have spears, but they'll also have battle axes. The scouts will be the archers. So where the first orcs, basic orcs, had a 14 strength and 10 dex, I'm going to just flip that for scouts. So their strength's 10, but dex is 14. That way when they're using their ranged, they have a better chance to hit. Okay, from there I need stats for the rider and the quarthed lion. Bull hybrid. Interesting. I will need to look up some stats for that to mesh those together. The mage is going to have a strength of go with 14, dex of 10, IQ of 14. So IQ is where the spell's known and the strength is equal to its mana it can cast. I'll need to pick a handful of spells for that one, but that'll be entertaining. So next is the Orc Chieftain. Well, it's going to have a strength of 30. Dex is going to be 14. IQ is going to be 12. He's going to have a great axe. Okay, the Minotaur. Besides being a basic Minotaur, what's he going to have that'll make him unique and memorable? For one, he's wearing chainmail. We'll say it's silver chainmail. So chainmail that's been made out of silver ore. So that way it will hint at the fact that he can cast magic, and then I'll give him a spell to use. Go with something like Magic Fist. It's a low level attack spell, but with his access to mana equal to his strength, he's going to be able to do a lot of damage with that. I might add a wild encounter to this, or a random encounter. There's a Minotaur that's been seen in the fog in this area, and it is not friends to either of these groups. Last time the party saw it, it attacked the goblins the party was fighting, and then it attacked the party. And I'll be debating this based on how this raid's going, whether it's going towards the party's advantage or towards the enemy's advantage on if or when I would use this thing. The party did enough damage to it, 75 points, within 1 to 2 turns, that it just melted back into the mist and disappeared. If it does appear, it's probably going to wreak a lot of havoc. So that'll add a lot of chaos to this. Let's see, the town's going to have... The town has a Jarl, so he has a military force. So let's go over that. So there's a Jarl. He's got his men of the house, his direct commanded men. huskarls. We'll say he has well, this town has a town council. Did I give it a population? I did not. We'll say he has 24 of them. There's a town wizard, there's a smithy, there's an architect, there's an end rep. Okay, so militia of the town. Will number about 100. So these guys have been trained a little bit. So in combat, their morale would be a little bit better, and they might have a chance to hit some things. And then you're going to have volunteers, whether willing or not, being as the town's being raided, out there holding pitchforks and stuff. We'll say that'll number in the 200s to 400s, based on how the party negotiates for that. So given those numbers, we'll say the force that isn't directly attacking the town, the two forces going north and south, will number about 150 each. Enough to really be a threat on each end of the town. And if the town doesn't have a wall built, they'll be a great threat to the town. So from there, the main force will be able to do that. The huskarls, we'll say, have chain mail. The militia of the town have cloth armor. They'll have battle axes or spears. We'll just go with spears. We'll go with spears slash pitchforks for the volunteers. For the huskarls, we'll go longsword and spear. They will have shields. Jarl's going to be equipped similar to his huskarls, but he'll have a little bit better weapons and armor. Something that took a craftsman a lot longer to make. Okay. Party numbers about 24 if everyone plays 2 characters and everyone shows up to the game. My confirmed players number 3 right now, maybe 4. So we will see how many players get to participate in this big event. And we'll see if this event ends up being a 2-night event or a 1-night event. Knowing my players and how I want the encounters to go, we will go with, I want the encounters. The normal encounters will number the PCs versus orcs. A medium encounter. A large encounter. Medium encounter will be 1 plus half number of PCs. Large encounter will be number of PCs plus a number of the special orcs. Okay. Since there's a lot of pillaging and stuff that the orcs will be into, only a handful will be cooperating at any one time. So that'll work. Well, now I got my ideas in my head and written down on what I'm going to be doing and how it's sort of going to play out. Still depends on the party and how they set up the defense of the town. And then from there, it depends on how they respond to immediate attacks. There's one thing that I am considering now. The party does have gargoyles, so they can fly. So I'll have to figure out how to deal with those, not to take it away, but how to make it challenging for those flyers. Scouts have ranged weapons, so I might have them be a bane to the gargoyles whenever the gargoyles try to attack. Well, those are my thoughts. Hope this video becomes useful to those that are trying to prep games. Till we meet again.